Hi, good to see you guys again. Thank you for joining us here. Um, we have a pretty interesting talk today. We're going to be meeting again with Kate. She's a functional medicine coach. She's here actually with us now. I'm just going to let her in. Let's just wait for her to. Oh, here she is. Hi, Kate.
Hey, how are you?
How are you doing?
Good.
What a gorgeous
Happy
plant you
Monday.
have.
Oh, thanks.
What is that?
It's not real.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
gorgeous plant.
I'm
You
really
did.
I'm really good at killing plants, so I have a couple of not real plants in my house.
Okay.
I have a
So,
couple of real ones, but that's
well,
not
good
one of
thing you're
them.
so good at saving humans.
You're right.
So today we have something super interesting to talk about. Definitely a hot topic, obviously, is COVID-19. And I know a lot of my clients are asking every time I see them, what can I do to safeguard against, not only contracting this virus, but if I do, what can I do for my immunity? What can I do for my body so that I will have an easier chance of fighting it if I get it? So it seems like there's a lot of research coming out every day, and things change constantly. So let's talk a little about what you found, Kate.
Yeah, this is a really important topic for my clients as well. So hopefully we can help some people out there that are still concerned. I know there are a lot of researchers that are making claims that there's going to be a second wave of COVID. So, but regardless of that claim, I'm not saying that I agree with them or not, but, that's what I'm hearing is that it could happen. But regardless of that, we're entering into cold and flu season. And so just we want to make sure that everyone's supporting their immune system with the right nutrition. So we thought we could talk about that today.
Yes.
I have just a couple of things that I think are important when you're keeping your immune system kind of front top of mind. Um, so just actually two things I wanted to talk about is vitamin D and glutathione. And then, so I thought maybe I could just share a couple of things about them, and then we
Yeah,
can
that
talk
would be
about some
awesome.
foods and some other strategies that you have to support
Yeah, please
the
do
body.
explain what is glutathione for our clients. What is
Yeah.
glutathione? Nobody knows what that is, Rob, probably.
Okay, so let's start with vitamin D then,
Oh,
because
okay.
everyone knows what that is, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that you can do to make sure that your immune system's remaining strong and healthy and can, withstand whatever's potentially coming your way is to make sure that your vitamin D levels are adequate. And really, the best way to do this is to get your vitamin D levels tested.
Right.
You can ask your doctor to do this for you. It's something that I can help with as well. But, when your vitamin D levels are inadequate or deficient or even borderline deficient, it can negatively affect the immune system. So, and there are so many studies that show that vitamin D levels, keeping them where they're supposed to be or supplementing with vitamin D can actually help your body fight infections like the flu. And there's actually a lot of research now that's showing that high vitamin or adequate vitamin D levels have helped patients with COVID recover faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, vitamin D is one of these things that there's not really much dietary help for vitamin D unless you're taking it supplementally.
Right.
Our vitamin D mostly comes from the sun, and where we are, at least on the East Coast, we're about to head into these kind of darker days where everybody's vitamin D goes down. And quite frankly, almost every client that I look at comes in with a blood work to share because it's pretty routine for doctors to order a vitamin D. And they come in and they show me their vitamin D, and in the winter, almost all of us are low.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's tough to get it. It's tough to get it from the sun at all. Even, where we live and even during the summer, it's still tough because, your body has to take the sun and convert it to be able to use it. So, I do like supplementing with vitamin D. I know that many doctors recommend that now.
mhm.
There are a few foods I think you can get a little bit from eggs and from salmon, other things like cod liver oil, which most people don't want to have anything to do with taking.
Right.
But But most people, like you're saying, I have the same experience. They come in with their tests showing that their levels are low. So super important, to minimize your risk of cold, flu, and COVID. Make sure that you're getting your vitamin D. And usually when your doctor tests you, the report will show you your levels in your blood at that given moment. There are other more thorough tests that you can do through, like we talked about last time, some of these other labs that do an intracellular test. So what's actually in your cells, what your cells are actually taking in as far as vitamin D and utilizing. And that's a much more thorough picture. So, I would say to everyone watching, if you're really concerned or just curious about your vitamin D levels, those are a couple things to consider as far as testing goes. Not only what's in your blood today, but what's going on in your cells.
Absolutely. Okay, and so let's just say we go and find out that in fact we are low. I see a lot of people, I know the reference range is you want to be over like 32 on your vitamin D, 33 on your vitamin D, but I see a lot of my clients coming in the teens.
Yeah.
What do you do? How much supplementation do you recommend?
So, ask your doctor. That's kind of my disclaimer. I can tell you that I personally take 5,000 IUs daily. So I think the recommended daily dose these days from kind of a mainstream medical approach is around 3,000 to 4,000 IUs. But in the functional medicine or integrative medicine field, it's 5,000. And yeah, and then, if you're actually fighting an infection of some kind, there are doctors that will recommend even higher doses than that. So I'm not saying that I'm recommending that to anybody who's watching, because you actually have to be careful with vitamin D supplementation because it's a fat soluble vitamin. You can actually build up toxic levels in the body if you overdo it. So definitely talk to your health professional about that. But I do think it's really important. And I know that in my household, I have 3 children. And I always say, if anybody's even thinking about getting sick, we have our vitamin D.
Who's planning on getting sick here?
Nobody.
Right. I know.
Right.
So yeah, usually I tell my clients, somewhere around 2,000 a day, but I always ask first, did the doctor recommend supplementing you weekly with that? There's a giant dose that you can get. And the last time I checked, it was something you could even get from the pharmacist. If you go into CVS or whatever, and you ask them in the back that you want that 25,000 unit of vitamin D.
Yeah, just to boost their levels. Yeah.
To get you up to a decent level. Because it's one of these things that, once you replete your stores, then you can maintain that with a supplement every day.
Right. Agreed.
But I have heard, and I'm, one of the concerning things for me too is I just wanted to ask you that people with excessively high vitamin D levels can put themselves at a higher risk of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be really careful with it. It's not something that you want to I don't recommend that they just, go pick anything off the shelves or pick out a random dose. I think it's really important to find out where your levels are before you do that, and then get the appropriate dose. So that's vitamin D, and then glutathione I mentioned is the other one that's really important. Making sure that your glutathione levels are adequate, and glutathione is actually an antioxidant that our bodies make. It's produced in every cell of the body, and antioxidants such as glutathione, they are absolutely essential to a healthy immune system. And our body can create additional glutathione through taking in amino acids. But as we age, this becomes more difficult for the body to do. And plus, all the stressors that are on our bodies all day, all the time, as we subject our bodies to stress, whether it just be, environmental things like toxins, or maybe we're doing some things that aren't so great for our bodies, like drinking too much wine or something like that. But anyway, it will, cause stress, oxidative stress. specifically. And, so just like vitamin D, you can actually get your levels of glutathione tested to know
That's
exactly
great.
where you are. Yeah.
Great. Cool.
And that's super, super powerful. And then there are, again, more studies. I love the studies
I know.
on, inadequate levels of glutathione and higher rates of serious illness. And there have been recent studies that are showing that many of the people that got very sick with COVID and then, died from COVID were very low or deficient in glutathione. So, um, you know, but there's good news. I don't want to just, talk about bad news or studies.
All doom and gloom.
You can actually help your body and boost, the glutathione, and also take in additional antioxidants, which I know we were going to talk about some of the foods,
Yeah. Yeah. I
for
definitely want to.
antioxidants today. Some
Yeah.
easy things that we can do, like eat blueberries and kale.
Right. Right. Before that, though, let me just ask you. So if somebody's listening wants to get their glutathione levels tested, where do they go to do that? I mean, I haven't seen regular physicians,
Right.
like their GPs going out and testing for glutathione in standard labs.
Yeah, so that's a more specialty test again, and really important to test not only the levels today, but also the intracellular, what's going on in your cells. So I would say to look for a functional medicine practitioner, a functional diagnostic practitioner. I can definitely be of service there if someone needs my help. I offer a consult, so please feel free to reach out to me and just ask me how to do it. But it's a specialty test. I use Vibrant Labs, or I think we mentioned SpectraCell last time we were talking. They also test for glutathione levels.
And
Um,
exclusively, will they do that, but as its own test, or is that part of a big package of
Um,
testing?
SpectraCell is part of their overall micronutrient deficiency panel, but Vibrant Labs will test individual.
Nice.
So individual, nutrients and, antioxidants, they will test that by itself. So, and it would be, it'd be a good idea if you're curious about both of these. I mean, they're vitamin D and glutathione, both linked to the immune system, both very important. So you could test both of them at the same time. That would be easier.
Great, great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it comes to glutathione and your diet, what Kate said, it's interesting is that your body actually produces glutathione. So it's nothing you can actually take in your foods, but there are foods that you can eat to help your body produce it more efficiently and produce more of it. One of them is your sulfur containing foods. So a lot of this is Brussels sprouts, this is kale, spinach. Spinach across the board always is a good
Yeah.
vegetable for preventing everything. But yeah, so these sulfur containing vegetables are the ones that really help you to produce adequate levels of glutathione. Secondly, vitamin C is a really good thing to do at the same time, because vitamin C also helps with your glutathione levels. So your vitamin C foods would be strawberries and citrus fruits, and mostly in fruits like that, but also in things like spinach.
Yeah.
Again,
The catch-all. Yeah.
yeah. So those are your that's what you really want to focus on for vitamin C. But then also, it was found that increasing your selenium in the diet. So selenium is what's called a cofactor for glutathione, and a cofactor is something that you need to activate the glutathione in your body. So the more selenium you have, the better. And selenium is found a lot in meats and in beef and in pork. But it's also Brazil nuts are a good source, and also spinach is a good source of selenium. But so
Eat
everybody, I mean,
spinach.
yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, spinach you can just throw into, if you guys are making smoothies and protein shakes, it's so easy just to grab a handful, throw it in, and blend it up. You'll never taste it. So
Right.
that's an excellent way to get those levels up and to help you to protect you against God, whatever's coming.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so today I wanted to do a little cooking demo, which should be
Yeah.
fun and interesting. More interesting watching me navigate over to the kitchen with this Instagram live. But I was going to prepare something, and the interesting part about it is that it's going to be raw kale. My clients are always saying, raw kale tastes like foliage, tastes like I raked my leaves outside. And I understand, but I think what we have to do is break down the kale a little bit with something acidic and get it to soften a little. The other complaint that a lot of people have about greens in the refrigerator or whatever, having salad greens prepared ahead of time, because everybody wants to kind of meal prep and get their greens ready ahead of time. But a lot of the greens, when you put them in the fridge, tend to get soggy and mushy, and you can't put any kind of dressing on anything because you leave it for a day and it's like wilted, leaf. But kale is different. Kale is extremely hardy, and it gets better almost every day if you put it in, if you coat it with the right stuff, and then stick it in the fridge all prepped and ready. And I leave mine in there for a week sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And nothing happens
Yeah.
to it. So, and then there's lots of things I like to do with I call it's raw massaged kale. So we're going to go in and massage our leaves in a second. But yeah, I keep it in the fridge, and during the week I like to pop it out and sometimes fry an egg over the top, very French, to put a nice warm runny egg on top of crisp, crunchy, cold kale. Sometimes I like to put a little bit of beans, chickpeas, or brown rice in there, and then do the raw kale on top, and then, chicken or avocado on top of that. So I think kale is super versatile. It's just you got to make it so that you like it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don't eat it plain.
no. And even cooked, like I'm not into cooked kale. I don't know. I think cooked kale tastes not that great, kind of bitter. And you also denature some of the nutrients in it.
Right.
So you don't necessarily want to cook your vegetables. So this is a really great way so I guess without further ado, I can make my way over
Yeah.
to the.
And while you're going, my favorite juice, which I get from, you've probably heard of the Juice House in New Providence over there.
Yes, it's amazing.
So my favorite juice that they have is, and I've done it at home too, not a juice, but just I put it in a blender and make it like a smoothie, is raw kale, lemon, apple, and pineapple. So they call it the clap.
No, they don't.
Well, they used to call it the clap. Now I think they just call it clap, but it's KLAP. So it's an easy one to remember. But kale, lemon, apple, pineapple. It's so good. And for whatever reason, I guess it's probably the lemon, but I think it's also the pineapple just masks the flavor of raw kale.
Yeah.
So it's a really great, tasty, morning or whatever afternoon juice or smoothie.
Awesome. That's a great tip. All right. So tell me if you can you see me?
I can't see your face. I can see the bowl in your hands.
See the bowl? Can you see my hands?
Yep.
That are washed.
Yep.
I washed my hands before we started. So everybody needs to do that.
All right.
Can you see the kale?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, good. So I also washed the kale. I prepared the kale ahead by washing it. Now, the first thing you have to do when you're using kale, though, is get rid of this thick rib here, because nobody likes to eat that. So I usually try to find the quickest way to do everything that I do. So I kind of pull out the big chunky stems here and just discard them and put this here. But you can take out a couple of ribs at a time. So all you got to do is lay them on top of each other. Kind of put your kale down flat like this. Just make them line up nicely. And then just trim around the ribs. It takes no time. And there we go. We remove the big stalks. Here's another one. Here's another two. And we'll do that one the same way. Kind of just laying them on top of each other. Oh, this one's a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you got to fold the leaves over underneath so that you don't waste any of your precious gem here, kale. So we take out the ribs. Take out the ribs. So, gone, done. So now all we have here is a bunch of kale. And what I like to do now is just kind of make a ball, and then we're just going to cut it in like 2-inch pieces. Just cut it up. We have a man over. And then just kind of cut it up so that it's in like bite-sized pieces. You could also tear it if you prefer. Either way works. Are we good? Can we see okay?
Yeah, it's perfect. We can see.
Okay, great. So all these leaves, I'm going to throw into a bowl. I like a nice big bowl because it makes it easy for me to work with. So we take all these leaves, and this is, this whole thing is taking me like 5 minutes. It's really not a big deal. Can you see the leaves in the bowl?
Yeah, and that's a lot. So that'll last you for a while.
Oh, right? Yeah, I definitely do the whole bag of it at once.
Okay.
Because this way you don't have to, make more. And again, I told you, you can let it go all week. So now here I got a lemon. This is the easiest thing. Cut the lemon in half. Use a lemon squeezer. When I buy a bunch of kale in the store, I think the about appropriate amount of lemon for this recipe is 1 whole lemon. Okay. So I just squeeze the juice. If you like less lemon, of course you could do less. This one happens to be pretty juicy. But squeeze the juice on there. And then don't forget to put your lemons in the sink and put them down the disposal. Push the disposal.
Oh, right.
Because it makes your disposal smell nice. This is olive oil, regular extra virgin olive oil. Now this recipe is just something you can throw together. You don't have to think about how much you're using. So basically I just get in there with, a nice drizzle. That's about it. Everybody see that? Mm-hmm. And then you're just going to take your hands, probably I should roll up my sleeves a little bit more. You're just going to take your hands and just get in there and just massage. Literally take each leaf and rub it and massage it until it's shiny like this. So everything is coated. It might take you just a minute, get in there with your hands and make sure nothing is left dry. Get every piece. And then you have this nice shiny kale. Squeeze it. It actually kind of is a stress relief. Yes, it feels good. It feels good in this bowl. All right. So all my leaves are pretty much coated now. That was super easy. And then I like to take a little bit of salt. And in my house, I like to use Malden sea salt flakes. I don't know what kind of salt you like.
Okay.
Do you use what? Pink Himalayan salt?
I like that. Yeah, I like the pink Himalayan, but I do like the sea salts, and there's also a really great veggie salt that I will use sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, can we talk about that after this?
Yes.
So this is the Malden sea salt flakes. I like them because they're like little tiny pyramids. They're like little tiny flakes, and they're all the same, but they're thin, so they melt down quickly. And the taste is just like awesome. They taste so good. So
those are probably better than the pink Himalayan because the pink Himalayan, if you're using a grinder, is pretty thick, like rock-like.
Yeah. Sometimes they stay crunchy and
right.
Little flakes. I mean, they're so like tiny. They're like little snowflakes. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
And when
those are probably better for what you're doing.
Yeah, and when you rub them in, they almost just dissolve. It's delicious salt. It's delicious. I get mine on Amazon because I don't even know where else to look for it. It's super Euro.
This would be something fun that kids would probably like to do too, right? They like to get their hands in stuff like that.
Yeah, if you want your kids
to put your kids to work.
But yes, that's a good point because when you have your kids doing things with vegetables, they're more likely to eat them.
Right.
Yeah. So here it is. Here's our final product.
All right.
All shiny and ready to go. And I'll just put that into a container in my fridge, and all week this will be, I'll stuff it in wraps. Again, put it with my eggs, with anything. It's just
Oh
delicious.
yeah. All right.
So yeah, I hope that was helpful.
Excellent.
I'm just gonna rinse off.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It's super easy. I don't know if you've ever, some people like to buy the pre-washed and, packaged baby kale, stuff like, have you tried that with
Yeah,
this
the baby
recipe?
kale for me is not sturdy enough
Yeah, I was gonna say
to do
it's a
that with.
lot
I
thinner
mean,
and more delicate than what you're using there.
yeah,
So,
this is actually
okay.
like regular old kale. Actually, I like lacinato kale as well, which is, those are big, long, stalky green pieces. Those are good too.
Okay.
So
But
mix.
probably the more hardy and thick the kale is the better for something like that, where you're leaving it for a few days, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because it's gonna, it's gonna have to withstand and not get like droopy and mushy.
Right.
So I like that crunch from it. So
Yeah.
that's how I do it.
Excellent. All
Yeah.
right.
So does anybody have any questions about what we're doing here today, about anything we've talked about? Feel free to ask if anybody needs anything. Um, I think it's great that we were able to get together and talk about, some of the foods that kind of help you to prevent and fight this wild disease we've got going on.
Right. Yeah. And then of course, the main one of the main things is to try and stay away from sugar. I know that that's hard, but you know, that's gonna, if you're having too much sugar, mitigate sometimes all the other things that you're doing so well. Do you like have a sugar substitute that you recommend to your
I
clients?
do. I like, personally, my favorite right now is Lakanto monk fruit. That's my
Mm,
favorite. It's not glycemic at all, so it's great for dieters. It's great if you're trying to, keep your blood sugar low, if you're diabetic, any of these things. And it's a natural substance that is, and delicious. I think it's like sweet and good, and it tastes like sugar to me.
it does. Where do you get yours?
Whole Foods.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that's super important, is staying away from that extra sugar, because sugar's so inflammatory. It just makes your whole body like ready to, your cells just open to infection. And
Yeah, which I know is especially difficult now with, the holidays and Halloween and all that kind of stuff coming up. But there are so many other ways. Like you can use the sugar, the monk fruit, like you're talking about, and you can bake with it and use it just like you would regular sugar. So,
right.
finding replacements for all that stuff is super important right now.
Yeah, yeah. And even just realizing that once you start to decrease the sugar in your life, you start to crave it less, so much less. You
Yes,
don't taste it. You don't need that sweetness anymore. And then when you do go ahead and have something super sweet, you're like, too much,
right.
too
It's
sweet.
very true. It's
So
very
just like
true.
salt, you can be trained away from needing any of those, flavors. You could just really
Right.
start to appreciate the flavor of the vegetable or the fruit or the food. And I also tell my clients, get your sweetness from fruit, get your sweetness from dates.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
oh,
Does somebody
ShopRite
have a
and
question?
Costco also carry the Lakanto. Yes, yes, I've heard
Oh,
that.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. It's becoming much more popular. And if you go on
Yeah.
their website, the Lakanto website, they have all these awesome products. Like they have a maple syrup, they have
Oh, really?
pancake mix, and I personally buy the drinking chocolate. It's like a powdered
Oh,
cocoa that I mix with almond milk and heat it up at night as like a little sweet treat to kind of fill me up.
oh, that's great. And it's sweetened with the
The Lakanto.
alternative. Okay. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
they have a matcha tea, like a like green powder too. That's like a matcha tea mix. That's also a little almond milk. It's delicious.
Okay. Yeah, I tell my clients, when more people buy stuff like this, it's like voting with your dollars. Like the more we spend on these types of products, the more that they'll be available to us.
Yeah,
I know it's tough in the beginning when there's something new that, it's hard to find, although Amazon has everything. I feel like you can get anything on Amazon.
right, right.
But yeah, if you find something like that, tell your friends, and the more people that buy it, the more it'll be available for us. So, That's
Right.
that's and what about stevia? Do you like stevia?
I do. I don't love the way it tastes as much. I
Yeah.
gotta be honest. That's my but stevia, I trust it. I feel very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It definitely has proven itself. I think a few years ago I was skeptical. We don't know stevia, just like we don't know. I was more
Right.
comfortable with the devil we know. But
Right.
now, now I feel like stevia's been out for quite a while, and there haven't really been any studies to suggest that it's unhealthy for us.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm behind that. This is so sweet though. You only can use a tiny bit.
Right. And it does have a different flavor. So you like the monk fruit better, the
Flavor
sweetener.
wise and,
Yeah, right.
and texture. They
It's
also
very
make
important for
yeah,
people. Yeah.
yeah. Because if you're turned off, you're still gonna want what you want, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
yeah. So I'm glad we got to check in. If nobody has any other questions, Kate, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. Just, again, vitamin D, glutathione. If you don't know if you're adequate, get your levels tested, and I guess we'll probably be back again next week, right? All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And just a summary on the foods. You're looking for strawberries, citrus fruit, Brazil nuts. If you eat meat, meat is a good protector. And kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, the sulfur vegetables. So
All
just
right.
a little recap. And again, Kate is the owner of Integrative Wellness Advisors, which is located in Mountainside or Springfield.
Mountainside.
That's Mountainside there.
Yeah. Hmm.
So feel free to reach out to her to get in, and if you want to have a visit with a functional medicine coach. And I am I am a co-founder of Absolute Nutrition Counseling, which is a pretty great resource because we accept insurance, and so a lot of people don't realize that they do have nutrition counseling services available to them, probably at almost no cost. So we're here for you if you want to check your insurance. We can check through it first and let you know what you got.
It's so
But
great.
we're happy
Yeah.
to help anytime. So just reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate,
All
for being
right.
here.
Thanks for having me
You're
again.
always so informative. And we
All
hope you guys
right.
have a great day.
Yeah. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.